I'm Mark Mandel. I'm the vocalist, and our absent brothers would be Josh Hussey on drums and Case Hakes. You know what? Should I do that again?
You can if you like. Hi, my name is Will and welcome to the Distorted Transmission for today. I'm talking to two guys from a band called Planet of the Dead. How are you?
Good.
Super duper.
Could you guys introduce yourselves and the other members, of course, who aren't present?
I'm Malcolm McKenzie. I play guitar.
I'm Mark Mandel. I'm the vocalist for Planet of the Dead, and our two absent brothers are Josh Hussey on drums and Case Hengst on bass.
Right. It must be difficult having people in the band with such difficult names.
So we'll leave it to a Dutchman to have a complicated surname. I mean, he does a great job. We love his work.
Well, I talked to you guys, well, not Malcolm, because Malcolm was having a bit of a nap when I spoke last, but I talked to the rest of the band in January this year at the Smash Fest in Gisborne.
Indeed. Probably
not everybody who's watching now saw that, so I thought maybe we could talk about the origins of the band, your formation, your ethos, perhaps, and things you've done up to this point.
I kind of pulled the band together. I had a band before this one called Ultranauts, which had a cool sound but kind of fell apart. But I was keen to sort of continue on. So I recruited off NZ Bands. A shout out for NZ Bands. It's a great site finding like-minded people. And yeah, hit the jackpot straight out the bag, really. Met Mark and Case and our original drummer Dion, the first people I tried out, and we just clicked really quick. I had a really clear idea of what I wanted to do. Science fiction themed, heavy and simple was kind of my catchwords. I think my instructions for the vocalist were I wanted someone who didn't sing. I wanted someone who could make noises. And Mark just rocked in and just shouted, and I was like, yeah, that's my guy.
Very handy that talent was not a prerequisite. I'm very grateful for that.
Talent or looks?
Neither.
That's the basic inception. So as far as musical releases up to this point, what have you released?
So our first album was out last year, and it was poorly timed with the outbreak of the Rona and the first lockdown here in New Zealand. So it was released around about February, March, which was probably about the time we were all disappearing into our bunkers. So we were working feverishly on that through 2019. We got it recorded December that year, and we had, we basically did the not much fanfare in the end because it turned out that all the gigs had been pulled and all our live shows, which we had planned to kind of coincide with the album, those unfortunately got canned. So the first album is Fear of a Dead Planet. And I think the themes there, as Malcolm alluded to earlier, we're definitely sort of playing on the sci-fi themes in there. Obviously, Dune comes through fairly heavily. We're all big fans of Frank Herbert and his work. So yeah, the first album was February, March in 2020. And we were fortunate to have quite a bit of groundswell through social media. So we got a bit of airtime, mainly through word of mouth, I would say. Malc, would you say that was probably about right?
Yeah, like I say, particularly YouTube channels, 666 Mr. Doom, he picked us up on that.
Rob Hammer. Rob Hammer was another one who kind of gave us plenty of airtime, and through that we kind of got the word out.
And you've just released an album. I actually originally thought it was a single, which was my bad, but it was an album called Pilgrims that you dropped in July of this year. So let's talk about that. I believe you've just got the vinyl from overseas just recently.
Yeah.
So maybe Malcolm, could you fill me in a bit?
Yeah, so we recorded that one at the end of last year. We'd planned to release everything, like when we did the first album, we released it digitally and hadn't really even been planning to do vinyl, but it got quite a bit of notice. So we were like, oh, cool, do some vinyl. This time we were trying to do everything all together. But the vinyl sort of got delayed. So we ended up putting it out digitally in July. And now we've just got the vinyl and to ship out. We got CDs pretty quickly, so we got them out to people. But. So
how many copies did you actually get made?
Yeah, so for the vinyl, we got 200. We got a run of 200 done. Most sort of 3/4 of that black vinyl and the others with various colors.
Okay.
Yeah, this time we used a company in the Netherlands. Previously, we did the first album with Holiday here in New Zealand, who were really good, but it was significantly cheaper to get it produced overseas.
Right.
Another part of that was we also lined up some distributors in Europe and America. And it was much cheaper to get it produced there and sent to them rather than getting it produced here and sent overseas.
Are there any pitfalls to actually getting stuff made overseas though?
Yeah, we did find, I mean, aside from the delays, which is kind of, I think, a global thing, there's shortages on just the materials and a whole backlog on vinyl generally. But the communication was much more difficult than it was with Holiday. We had like just simple things. We wanted to get images of what the colored discs look like, and they had their processes in place and didn't want to do that. So
possibly because they're in Europe, they have a lot more orders coming in, and maybe they just don't have the time to fuck about with every single band's specific requirements. Yeah. Maybe you could imagine if there's like 1,000 bands waiting for 1,000 albums. And everyone wants a photo of this and that. They probably we would just have like a policy where we just do it and ship it, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that's part of it. And with Holiday, it really felt like they cared, but they've got a much smaller market to look after. But they did great things for us, right? They kicked and they just did some experimental marble stuff just because they were playing around with it and gave them to us for free.
That was wicked. The other thing, I guess, with the album getting the album produced in the Netherlands, we actually got in touch with a marketing company in Portugal. So we reached out to a company that we were actually put onto by Steve from Bullet Belt. So we reached out to Steve because we know they've obviously got plenty of contacts, and Steve very kindly put us onto a chap. Indeed, I noticed the shirt, and I want to give a massive shout out to Steve because he has been extremely supportive to us and has always been there for advice, and we really appreciate Steve's wisdom. So kudos, Steve. Love your work, mate. Keep doing what you're doing. Was
he the one who kind of put you onto the vinyl? Because like when I think Wellington and vinyl, I quite often think of Steve.
He has a lot of vinyl.
Yeah. He always releases on vinyl. So was he the one who kind of helped you out there?
He didn't actually, not with the vinyl, but he put us in touch with the promotion guy and gave us quite a lot of advice about getting the vinyl done. But the specific company, I just found someone who was close to our distributor, to be honest.
Right. All right. Well, that's the vinyl, and obviously you have some vinyl available. Are the coloured variants all sold out? You've only got the black at the moment?
I think there's a couple left of the purple, but sold out of the marble ones. There's some of the blue that are available from the American and European distributors, but in New Zealand it's mostly just the black.
Okay, so I guess the best thing to do would be just go to the Bandcamp and see what's not sold out and buy that. I mean, it sounds the same. Doesn't look the same, but sounds the same, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We're also basically looking at going to our local record shops because we know people love supporting their local record shops. So we'll be shipping a bunch of the classics up to, we'll be going to Real Groovy, Flying Out, Warlock Records. We're really good good friends with them, and they're really good at promoting metal music in New Zealand and importing really great vinyl. So Rich from Warlock distributed our first album, so we're keen to make sure he gets copies of the second. And we're also going to Penny Lane down in Christchurch, because I love local record. I love shopping in my local record shops. I visit here in Wellington, Rough Peel and Slowboat and Creeps in Newtown. So we've been around a few of those as well, and got the album in there as well. So if you can't shop Bandcamp, you can shop local too.
For the collectors, Warlock may or may not have some signed copies,
and
they may or may not have a couple of coloured.
Good things to know. All right, so let's move on from the album. Let's talk about gigs. You played with Stonehurst and was it Corsu in Wellington in July. Did you have any other gigs after that point? I couldn't really see much, but I'm a little bit out of the Wellington loop.
We basically pulled a tour together, which unfortunately was mostly torpedoed. We were due to play Auckland, Raglan. We were due to play Gisborne and Hastings, and we were going to be playing the Groove Fest, which Tim from Stonehurst had set up through Cosmic. That was going to be not far from Christchurch, I think Rakai Gorge or nearby. So we had a bit of a tour lined up to promote the album. Of course, we were in lockdown, and then we were at various stages of levels 3s and 2s. So most of the live shows were unfortunately cancelled. We did manage to get a couple of Wellington gigs down. We actually went up to Hastings. We were actually due to play as part of the Fringe Festival there. That got obviously canned, but the local folk who ran the venues, they were still keen to run a festival. They were really keen to get live music, and they were keen to do the variety stuff. So we actually ended up going to Hastings, and we played at Spaceship, and I have to say it was a wicked gig. It was probably one of the better gigs we played this year.
They had this kind of festival thing. So earlier in the evening, they had a Baroque band with like recorders and stuff. And then before us, they had this really cool sort of emo type local band. And then miserable cunts came on at the end,
and we were miserable. So that was real good. And we've got one more show this year, so we're heading down to Christchurch. We did a gig earlier a couple of weeks back with our friends in Sidewinder, and they kindly returned the favor and invited us to join them for their show at the end of this month with Sins of Eve. I think we're playing at 12 Club in Christchurch on the 26th. So that will be our last show for the year, I think, and that'll be us for 2021.
Oh, well done! You actually managed to get some gigs under your belt, which a lot of Auckland bands certainly can't say the same, eh?
It's kind of deja vu for us. It was exactly the same with the first album coming out. We had Cuba Duper, we were due to play with Cadaver, all that got cancelled. So we were kind of ready for another round of disappointment. So as you say, we're really grateful that we were actually able to get out and play a little bit.
Still haven't played Auckland at all.
We're annoyed at that. We need to get that sorted soon.
It's overrated. Okay, so you were also talking about a third album. You said that you've been writing and doing a bunch of stuff, working towards a third album, and during this sort of like semi-lockdown sort of interim. So maybe we can talk about what you're working on now.
I've been churning away with riffs quite a lot.
Oddly enough.
During the course of the year and everything that's been happening, I've been sort of obsessing about the decline and fall of Western civilization that I see coming. So yeah, this next album's probably going to be reasonably even more miserable than we have been before. Like the best science fiction kind of comments on current events in a futuristic narrative, right? We're kind of pulling on that a bit.
Fortunately, you have your spaceships at the ready, so the second everything goes tits up, you're just out of here. Is that the plan?
Back on your Star Destroyer. That's the way to go. We did enjoy the themes that we played within the second album. And I think you look in the gatefold and, there's some clear themes there. And I think, as Malk says, we're kind of going to draw a little bit more on the dystopia We'll be drawing from some new graphic novels and some good old literature, which is suitably miserable. There'll probably be some familiar themes as well. So hopefully there'll be something for everyone.
Well, I look forward to your 10th album where you just like bitter old fucks and vocalists just moaning about everything into a microphone. That's probably about all time we have. Even with the editing, I think we're going to be hitting around 10 to 12 minutes. So is there anything else you'd like to add at the end of the interview?
Yeah, my main thing is I just wanted to thank everybody that we've been involved with in the local music scene. It's, hard times, obviously, for everybody, particularly Ben from Valhalla. He's just an absolute landmark in the city. Also, James Woods, who's been doing our sound recently and has been super helpful. And James Goldsmith, who's produced both of our albums, has been, really solidly behind us.
I think I would probably echo that. I would definitely say again, thank you to everyone who's, supported the local scene and came out even for the level 2 shows. We had some great gigs, and lots of people came out to support. Really grateful to David at Viral, who basically helped us with our promotion of Pilgrims. Got some great articles, some great reviews, some great feedback, which was all really useful, and we'll take that forward to the third album. And thanks to the local record shops. Buy local.
Awesome. And I thought as a very, very last thing, I thought maybe you could tell people where they can get your stuff, because I know you've got a website, right?
Yep. So we've got a website which is just planetofthedead.band. But easiest way is to just hit us up on Bandcamp. If you go to the page there, we've got vinyl, CDs, t-shirts.
We're on Facebook and we're on Instagram and all the social media stuff. So there's plenty of noise going on there. We've got a YouTube channel. We did 3 videos for Pilgrims. So we did Escape from Smith's Grove, we did Directive 4, and we did Pilgrim. Those are all they were the 3 singles that preceded the release of the album. Those videos, along with the ones that we produced for Fear of a Dead Planet, are all on our YouTube channel. So, and the albums are obviously in their entirety being hosted by the likes of 666 and Rob Hammer. So there's plenty of sources out there if you want to listen to the stuff. But Bandcamp is certainly a great place to go for everything, for all your Planet of the Dead needs.
I love Bandcamp. Okay, guys, thanks very much for chatting to me tonight, and best of luck with everything going forward. I look forward to my copy of the new album.
Thanks for having us, Will.
Thanks,
Great
Will.
to talk to you.
He just stuck in there quietly at the end. Okay. Cheers, guys.
As you must. Have a great one. Thanks. Good evening.
Thanks for watching too, everyone. See you later.